Good afternoon. Wanted to talk about something that doesn't happen a whole lot here in Central Valley, but you still want to protect against. And that would be, if you look at it, the trees above us, that would be the wind protection. Again, luckily, we don't get a whole lot of wind. I mean, we don't have like a monsoon wind or anything that takes place. But we've been going to a couple of days and also forecasted as well for a couple more additional days of near freezing temperature, as well as just like crazy windy weather like this. So when you get near freezing temperature nearing the middle of April, where last week it was in the mid 90s, and this morning in my backyard I reached 33 degrees this morning. So when you get cold temperature and windy days like these, especially windy nights, it is perhaps the worst combination that you can get for your tropicals. The cold itself is really not an issue for the tropicals. However, when you combine that with the wind, it actually strips the moisture from the leaves, therefore almost freeze burning the leaves and causing damage. So what do I do against wind protection? As you could see, a majority of my trees are staked. This basically keeps the branches intact in place. Yeah, so the stakes really serve two purposes. Number one, keeps it in place, and also it gives them structural support. I'm pretty confident the second that I remove this stake here, this inga is gonna just fall over. I mean, it until it is established, until the wood is nice and hardened, it just needs a lot of support, particularly with grafted trees, especially mangoes. Grafted mangoes, like the coconut cream variety, it's just so flimsy. It's very plasticky, well, rubbery. So going back to the wind, there are some trees that you want to pay close attention to. The papaya especially, trees that have shallow root systems. Most papayas in the wild, they don't fall out because they're old. They basically fall because of the wind. I mean, the wind just basically pushes them out. I mean, you've seen the two papayas that I had in my front yard that the wind just basically pushed it and then it just fell over. So just take special care in making sure that the dirt is compact. It can also be a double-edged sword though, just because again the papayas, due to the shallow root systems, can become wood rot during winter time. So there are some trees that really have no problem at all with the wind. I mean, it's not tropical, but this sugarcane jujube, most jujubes are like built solid. I mean, it doesn't even move at all. So there is a couple of trees that I want to show you that you should also pay attention to as well when it comes to wind protection. These two right here, starfruits. Starfruits are really notorious for just being very sensitive to wind, which is why I've actually got them strategically placed back here between my house and neighbor's property. It's giving them some wind protection as well as just general warmth, just because of the radiating heat from the properties. So anyhow, I'm gonna take you to the back where I've got a few more examples to show you. Okay. I mean, I'm not, really, no, I'm not kidding. I mean, it's been a relatively windy day. So as you can see, a lot of my trees are supported in my situation, we get the northerly wind. Actually, no, the westerly wind. So that is the west. So as you can see, the bamboo there that is reaching a good, I would guess that to be maybe 30 feet high. We've actually pruned it down heavily. I mean, at one point we had like a dozen bamboos going out of the ground, and it was really just doing its job. Bamboos, I don't know what variety this is, but it's really thick and therefore very flexible. Bamboo serves as a very good windbreaker. So by having that bamboo there, as the wind splashes through my yard, in some ways a lot of the understory trees aren't impacted at all by the wind. I mean, you'll see them moving, but the bamboo basically absorbs most of the forces from the wind. Of course, you've got the inga there, and this is what I mean by when it gets to a certain age, certain size, you don't need to support them anymore. I mean, they are going to be able to make it without any problems. Though in this case, I do actually have it connected or attached to the pergola there, just giving it some support. I mean, mine as well, because I don't really want this guy to be leaning to the east side too much. So yeah, I mean, same with the Duhat / Jamun tree there. When it was younger, I mean, that tree was just so crazy flimsy, but as it matured more and more, the wood itself hardens, and it is now able to withstand the wind much better. So let me show you. There are some trees that are not a big fan of the wind, in addition to, say, the starfruits here. Bananas notoriously is not very good with the wind. I mean, the leaves will just get shredded. I mean, so that's why I've got it back here being protected in many ways by this tropical white guava here. So yeah, it's for the first couple of years, until your trees are structurally able to support themselves, see if you could somehow anchor them. I mean, this is really not going to go nowhere regardless of the amount of wind that this pineapple guava gets. It's going to remain in place. Same with this BQ longan here. Actually, looking at this, it looks like I need to adjust the stake here. So just going back to the temperature phenomenon that we've been forecasted to have for the next couple of days. I am expecting again for tonight and probably the following night to be in the low 30s. So with that being the case, I actually did, for the first time again this year, take out my portable heater, and I actually had it covering the rambutan and also the mangosteen. I mean, same with the Rollinia and the sourshops. Actually, if you come here, I mean, it see the darkening of some of the leaves. This is actually frost damage from last night. Crazy. I mean, we're approaching middle of April, and yet it's we're still getting pretty cold here in the Central Valley. So rather than getting it a heated greenhouse, I simply just took the containers here and just basically just cover it up. Just really, it's just for a few days. So and in some ways, that's why I've got a bunch of seedlings, just in the event, I mean, this is knowing that not every seedling's going to make it. That's why I've got a bunch of them in there. So yeah, It's been a windy day today. So, and speaking of which, if you notice the wax jambus back here, both of these guys are protected. The black diamond is still recovering from the frost, but otherwise it's I do see a number of new growth though. I mean, I don't know if you can tell it from this angle, but I do see a number of shoots that are coming out. I mean, this guy does this every year, but then once it matures to something like this size right here, it really isn't an issue anymore. And again, it is relatively protected, so if you see the nearby trees moving, but not this one, I mean, look at the Etamoya. So daytime, the wind is not an issue if you give it some structural support. Nighttime is going to be a different story, especially if it gets cold. So anyhow, yeah, just you know, wind protection. It's something that you normally don't encounter here in the valley, but they can do a lot of damage to your tropicals. So anyhow, yeah, I mean, especially if the tree is flowering or fruiting like the grapefruit there. I mean, the wind, if it's windy enough, will simply just strip the flowers and the fruits off of that grapefruit. So anyhow, yeah, luckily I don't see a whole lot of damage. So anyhow, all right, have a good afternoon.